Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to Thursday night. It's Thursday night. It must be full course yellow again. It's good to catch up with everybody once again. I'm joining you from a house that is full of the smell of burnt pork at the moment, but we won't go into that. There's, yeah, we won't go into that.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, it could be taken a whole bunch of ways. Well, welcome to Full Course Yellow again. What an interesting week it's been. We've had, of course, Bathurst. First of all, congratulations to Chaz Mostert and Lee Holdsworth. We'll be talking about Bathurst. Obviously, what happened last weekend and the race itself, the great race, or was it a great race? We'll find out that. We'll give you the sort of our verdict on that a little bit later. Also, of course, Formula One. It all comes down to this weekend. The battle for winner take all in the final round of the year, and Max Verstappen versus Lewis Hamilton, and once again plenty of controversy there. So we'll talk about that over the course of the night. And we'd love to hear your comments and your questions. So if you feel like it, whether you're watching us on Facebook or on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, go into the chat section and ask your questions or make your comments, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later on in the program when we introduce everybody. And let's introduce everybody right now. Sort of joining us on the program tonight. We've got some of the usual suspects. We've got Pete and Dockins with us, and also Chris.
Good evening.
There, so no Stuart or Richard or Dave tonight, or so far. They might join. Some of them might join us a little bit later. But our thoughts with Richard Outram. His father's funeral is tomorrow, and our thoughts are with Richard and Heather and the family heading there tomorrow. So. Yeah, we spoke. I know what Richard thinks about all these things because we spoke at length yesterday about it. So there we go. So I think Stuart is about to join us as well, and he can add himself because he's capable of that. There he is. He's just popped up there. So hello to Stuart. Yeah. So first of all, the great race. Okay. So what are the verdicts, everybody? Before we say hello to everybody, what's the verdict? As we've got somebody's got an open speaker, which I'm assuming is Stuart.
Give me 1 second.
Okay, so while Stuart works out the technical stuff, Pete, what did you think?
It was okay. It wasn't one of the better ones. I liked, even though they acknowledged that the Mostert car was fast and they probably wouldn't be able to keep up with it. I like the fact that Red Bull at the end just said, okay, we'll go for it, and whatever happens, happens. And of course, the tide eliminated. But they said, we thought that could happen, and we just went for it, and so that was good.
Yeah, I think it was. They had nothing to lose. The fact that this is the problem I've got with Bathurst being a part of the championship. I mean, if they were going to that last round and like Shane and Jamie, or even worse, Shane and someone else from another team were in a competition for the championship, they would have to have one eye on the championship and just say, look, they wouldn't have been able to have the luxury of taking that approach. They would have just had to say, no, look, we really need to make sure that we finish within a certain range to get a certain amount of points, so that we can win the championship. That is indeed if the championship is still, is as big or bigger than Bathurst. I suppose it depends. If you talk to a lot of the drivers, and I've spoken to a few of them, and we've asked them on the show, and quite a few of them have said, yeah, I'd probably rather win Bathurst, but not everyone says. I know Shane for us is very much, no, I'd rather win the championship, thank you, because that's, a whole year's worth of, that's a vindication of a whole year's worth of stuff. Let's before we move on to something, let's introduce some of our regulars who are watching. Hello once again to Box. We've got Andrew joining us again. Evening, Andrew, and also Andrew S and Tony P. G'day, guys. How are you? And
Evening,
also Brett Seller saying good result, very emotional and passionate speech by the Reverend Gary Coleman. Yeah, Gary Coleman retiring from his position as the motorsport chaplain up in New South Wales, and sort of the major motorsport chaplain. My only connection with Gary Coleman was many years ago. We went up to Wakefield Park for a round up there, and it was the weekend that Stewie McColl was killed, and it was only about a week or so. In fact, it was the first meeting. He'd been on the show on Tuesday night to promote the meeting at Phillip Island, and we were up at Wakefield Park with the Sportsland guys, and we got the news through that he'd been killed at Phillip Island, and there was also been another crash, another bad crash up at Wakefield on the practice, and. I'm a card-carrying atheist and all, but I mean, Gary Coleman gave a really, really fabulous speech in the morning. It was very moving. It was very sincere, and because a lot of people were going, "Oh, do we race?" Because people just didn't feel like it, and. He gave a fantastic speech. It was really impressive. In fact, I went up to him afterwards and just said, "Look, I've come up, congratulate him." Just said, just wonderful stuff. So he's very well respected, absolutely loved in the industry, and he'll be very, very sorely missed from that role. But he deserves a break now, and. They do a great job, the motorsport chaplains. We've had, like Mark and Arthur and, people down here on the show who do that stuff down here. But Gary is on another level. So, great stuff.
I think there was a lot of success stories out of the weekend. Sorry, 6-day event at Bathurst last week. There's a lot of success stories that we could probably touch on. One, the whole event of 6 days. I think everyone was giving it some thought beforehand and thinking it might be a bit too long, but I didn't hear any complaints by the end of it, and I heard.
Oh, I heard a few. I heard a lot of complaints.
Oh well, yeah,
not from me. I thought it was great.
No. And I heard a lot of good stuff coming out, even for the people that were up there for the 6 days, and they thoroughly enjoyed it if they paced themselves and just. Also, if you want to speak about something about a few Ks were running around by a few cars on the Sunday. Co-drivers are just as important, if not ever, especially when you get lethal punching out laps at 2:05, which were faster than most of the main drivers were punching out the time early in his things, even though the car had race speed. But he obviously, it was a shame that he lost his drive last year at Tickford due to various reasons, which I won't go into the politics tonight. So the co-drivers are so important. Again, it also probably extenuates the idea that it was probably 10 years ago, I think it was mentioned, and has done ever since. It's not an endurance race anymore. It's a simple sprint race of 160 odd laps, 1,000 kilometres, and every lap is almost a qualifying lap from day dot. I mean, they're always coming up with faster ways to do pit stops. The different ways that they have to do their compulsory brake pad change and brake rotor change as well too. So it's extremely important that they're trying to find almost every single tenth or every single second they possibly can throughout the day to nail it. So enough about that, whatever that thing was on the Sunday. The highlight of the weekend, or highlight of the 6 days, was the press conference on the Friday. That provided more fireworks than the pyrotechnics that were going off as the cars went over the line on Sunday at the finish. So if anyone has been paying attention the last 12, 18 months to the cars, the Generation 3 cars, forget about those. They were on display. They rolled them out and started them up, and they made a nice big noise, and they were flashy and glow and nice red and blue colours. The press conference was the highlight of the weekend, and it has been underestimated what was said since. So I'll put my journalist hat on like we do sometimes, Brett and I, and on camera, and we'll speak about what happened for about 15, 20 minutes after the cars did their special thing on the floor there. And every single journalist in the room had a panel with people sitting up there from team representatives and etc. And they would like to know whether the cars are going to... Everyone wanted to know. That was the first point, and it lasted for a long time at the start of this conference until it got pipped at the post by a certain individual. Want to know whether a car is going to be paddle shift or stick shift. And if it's going to be stick shift, will it be a real stick shift, a real proper sequential or some sort of crash box or whatever it may be, or will it be a fake shifting where it is fully automated and electronic anyway? So Roland Dane had his opinion, which some people actually agree with him for a change, and then no one ever listens to Roland Dane and agrees with his opinion too often. And it was all stopped after you have 4 dignitaries, you have Holden dignitaries all there at this presser, and all come to a dead halt Fred Flintstone Barney Rubble stop when Sean Seamer said, right, that's it, had enough. All of you stop asking questions about when this is going to happen, what's going to happen, who's going to happen, etc. like that. Why can't you talk about the beautiful cars that are over there and the lovely noise that they make and all this spectacular stuff about the January cars? Now, I don't want to hear anything more about the stick shift or the paddle shift or whatever it's going to be. So let's get on to what we're really here for. Next question, please. So with the paddle shift and the stick shift, the journalist said again, he was just about blowing up a valve. So there you go. It's
the first run that they did, the Mustang actually had a gear lever in it.
They changed that for the release.
The last 2 runs, suddenly that gear lever disappeared, and always the commentators were very careful. They were, raving about externally how good it sounded and how good it looked, but they were very careful not to mention anything in the interior.
Yeah, good reason for that. Those cars have nothing to do with road cars anymore. There's no production related anything. They're a race car. And at that level, they need to be a race car just for the safety of it. To have production cars running around at that pace would be dangerous. Even things like a gear lever coming loose and flying around inside in an incident is a whole different kettle of fish to it. Paddles on the back of the steering wheel. It's going to come down to safety and parity.
The point is, I mean, this whole controversy is once again like a lot of things in life, and I have to say this, and I can say this, because this is me saying it, and I'm almost 61 years old, and I'm sitting here, and I'm white and middle-aged, old man, grumpy old man.
You're not being racist to yourself, Brett.
It's only people of my generation and all that are kids. The next generation could not. They don't know what an H-pattern gearbox is. They
won't even know what a petrol engine is.
You can hardly buy a car. I think there's about 2 or 3 cars in Australia that still have an old-fashioned manual gearbox anymore. If you have a look around.
Whoa. I've got a 2012 just sitting outside the door here with a 6-speed manual in it. Thank you very much. That's 2012.
Yeah, that's 2012. 2012 was long. 2012 is 10 years ago.
Only 9 years. Sorry, you can get that one. If you get a 2016 version of that car is sitting over there. It's only a few metres away from me. You can get a 2016 version of that in a 6-speed manual, exactly the same gearbox as in mine. 5 years.
Let's get some
5 years.
Yeah. Less than 5% of cars sold worldwide have a manual gearbox in them. Less than 5%.
Yeah. Agree, because they're lazy.
It's enthusiast cars that have manual gearboxes now, not commuter cars.
And not even then.
Given another 10 years, all the commuter cars are going to be self-drive, and that'll mean people like us who enjoy driving will not have idiots doing dipshit things in front of us on the road. The cars and the computers will keep them out of the way while the rest of us can enjoy ourselves.
Let's get back to the subject. The subject is paddle shifts and stick shifts in supercars. Let's look at. We're getting way off the subject here, and I did.
No, because
it comes down to
it's relevant.
Oh yeah, look,
it's
we could go on for hours about how relevant all the other stuff is. Let's get back to the facts of it. It's paddle shift or stick shift, and it comes down to the fans and journalists and drivers and teams, because the teams and drivers have also expressed an opinion, and they're the ones that are going to have to be utilising it and working on it and driving it. And they have preferred that they want a stick shift, and a real stick shift, not a automatic one.
Some of them have.
Well, a majority have so far.
That they can yank on.
And it comes also back down to what the people want to watch. And a lot of society, and I've seen hundreds and hundreds of posts from fans, and they want to see a stick shift as well too for entertainment value.
I follow
the sport.
I follow the old, in terms of what the fans were, I follow the old, Steve Jobs principle, which is, never ask the public what they want because the public have got no expletive deleted idea. If anybody is going to stop watching any form of motorsport, whether it's supercars or anything else, because instead of going like that to change gear, you're going like that. Who cares? It is irrelevant. If people say, well, I'm not going anymore because they don't change the gear and they don't press the clutch anymore.
Okay,
if the racing is close, who cares?
How many of the stick shift crowd watch drag racing, love drag racing, and keep their manual gearboxes instead of having a button on the shift that actually changes or does the clutch action for you? So literally, as you yank the lever, the clutch engages and disengages.
Let's get back to the subject.
Mechanical system. It's not a computerized system. The driver still has to choose when. Maybe that's the important factor. The driver has to choose when. Rather than
they do have shift lights.
Right, getting back to the subject again for the third time, is the fans have said, and these must be the educated ones because obviously they must have a manual car. And I know lots. I know dozens. Actually, I know hundreds of people have got manual cars, and that's the truth. I'm not hand on heart. I know hundreds of people have got manual cars, and they drive them every day. A lot of them. Now, these people have also said if the drivers suddenly have a paddle shift or have an automatic system for them, it does take away some of the driver error chance and skill level, and that is 100% fact.
The highest, the so-called highest level of motorsport in the world is Formula One, and they haven't had old-fashioned gearboxes
if you want to watch Formula One, you realise that. If you want to watch supercars, you want to watch that facet that has actually got a chance of making an error in it.
I don't think anybody's going to go into
one
way or the other. Well,
I disagree with you there, Brett. You said, I don't care if anyone. I'm an anyone, and I do, because I'd rather see a stick shift. It adds to the entertainment, especially if you know what's going on in the car. You watch the foot brake, your left and right foot breakers, you watch the clutch, you've got the thing, you've got to change the gears, you've got the lights on the steering wheel, you've got to get all these particularly right. If you take it to a paddle shift...
They still have to do with the paddle shift.
Which is easier.
Hang on, I'm just going back through the feet there. You use the clutch to change gears? Can't you rev match?
No. I'm talking about what I can, yes. We've discussed this before, and you know I can. So don't be a smart ass for a second. Let's get back because
By the way, for anyone watching, I've seen him do it, so that's why this is funny.
Thank you. Anyway, that guy ahead of me is funny. Above me is funny too. But getting back to it, the driver error chances are lower with a paddle shift compared to driving a proper manual. It's a fact.
Well, I don't know. I've driven a few. I've driven some paddle shifts, and I've driven a couple of paddle shift cars. And I must admit, I made more mistakes driving the damn paddle shift car because I'm not used to it. I'm much personally. I mean, I'm happy to have my little manual. I mean, but it nowadays, most cars are going to come. The technology is there. We're not talking about sort of GT3 with traction control and ABS and all the rest of it. They don't have that sort of thing. They've still got to time the shift. And as I said, the only difference between what they're doing now and what they'll be doing then is right now they push forward to change up and they pull, or vice versa. But I think it's push forward to when they pull back to change down. All they'll be doing is pressing one to change up and pressing the other one to change down. They'll still have to do it at the same time. They'll still have to use the clutch to get away from the start line and to get away from the pits. Apart from that, as you say, most of them, particularly the young guys with their left foot braking, if you have a look at a lot of the older guys who will get there, they were doing the heel and toe, but there was a whole bunch of the younger guys when they had the pedal cam down there, that virtually none of them were using the clutch at any stage.
And TCR and the Bathurst 12-hour, they're all paddle shift, and they still have mistakes, and they still,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One
thing with the overall class, though, regardless of the method they change the gears and what have you, there's no relationship to production cars at all. They're a silhouette cup. So it really doesn't matter how much or which way they change gears and whatever. It's got nothing to do with what's underneath. It's going to be whether the drivers have the skill and whether the fans will accept that these are two-door cars that not many people can buy, compared to Commodore versus Falcon, which anyone could go into a showroom and buy, even if it was just a basic model. Anyone could get them. They're now a sports car. They're hard to buy. They're not the common car. Most people are driving SUVs now, not sedans, not wagons, not two doors. I think there's been two occasions, one in the 70s and one in the 90s, where the rules have been changed to get rid of two-door cars, and now we're going to two-door cars. Go figure. Sure, one of them had a rotary and one of them had all-wheel drive, but hey.
Yeah, but anyway, let's heading back to last weekend. It was good. I must say the Gen 3 cars. People were very excited about how the cars sounded, but as I pointed out, I think because Dave Stillwell was up there and Dave was saying how amazing they sounded. They won't sound quite like that when they're on the track, because I have no doubt that last weekend they were running without mufflers, and so everybody's going, "Wow, they sound amazing." They won't sound quite as amazing, I don't think.
The Camaro, they did say that the Camaro had a silencer on it.
Right, yeah, that's why the Mustang sounded so good. The Mustang sounded yeah, it was fantastic. But anyway,
the other question that comes: if we can run a Mustang and we can run a Camaro, can we run a Challenger?
Yes, you can, but no one wants to back it.
Yeah, well,
you can. Yes, you can.
Well, it's got to be homologated by the manufacturer. So it's not like it can be, and of course, Chrysler.
The short answer is yes.
In theory, it won't happen. But
if
yes,
you can run the
theory,
Challenger, can you run a BMW with a V8 and two doors?
Yes, you can. Yes,
you can run any.
Doesn't Mercedes make one of those as well?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. You can run
Aston Martin.
Anyone can run a car as long as they just put the carbon fibre body panels on it. As long as AAA gets to manufacture them and charge you each for each panel, like they have been doing with the Gen 2 car. So exactly, everyone's been a customer of AAA because they're the one that have been making the panels for everybody. And in this particular case, the Mustangs will have one supplier, and the Camaros will have another supplier on the panels. This one, it won't be strictly AAA. There will be manufacturing most of the parts like they have with this and things. But yes, if you get it homologated, you go through all the testing, jump through all the hoops, do the pole vaulting, jumping, throw a discus, etc., run the 1,000-meter around the Olympic track. You can put a car on the grid with, as Brett said, homologation, as long as it's all ticked all the boxes.
So that's got to be better for the racing then overall. That's got to be better.
No one wants to do it.
No one wants to do it. There's been no interest at all. I mean, there's all these rumours about Jaguar want to come in, and they're at this stage nobody. No, that's it. Nobody's really, as Andrew's saying now, do you think Jaguar will team up with Walkinshaw? And the answer is no, because they've said in answer to that rumour that kite flying that was going around from Speed Cafe, the Jaguar Australia, the distributor for Jaguar in Australia, said no, we have absolutely no interest at all in supercar racing.
And Boost Mobile are now sponsoring both cars at Erebus for the start of next year as well too.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But let's getting back onto the race. We had there, as I think it was Paul has pointed out about the Echidna, the highlight, the Echidna, and that's why I said, how could it be called the Great Race? The highlights of the race, without any shadow of a doubt, were that very, very lucky Echidna, and also the Albino Wallaby. They were the two talking points.
I'll go with the first one. That Echidna actually sparked a spate like the first one usually does. There's usually multiple of the safety cars. Once, the old saying, safety cars breed safety cars, but that sparked the first one, which then sparked the second one, which then sparked another one, and so forth and so forth. Because I was even looking at one stage up to that point, there'd be, maybe one at the most, maybe two safety cars, because the cars are built so well now they can just smash out 1,000 Ks, maybe even another 1,000.
It was like, like, it was almost as if sort of, Supercars Australia sort of said, like, race is a bit dreary. Okay, ready the remote controlled Echidna.
Or release the wolves.
There was
I
one
wonder if it's
sitting
got the
up.
same representation as Skippy from a few years back.
There was one sitting up on the mound in that area on the grass on the Friday.
Yeah, well, there was a bit of... Well, I mean, we know that there's tons of wildlife. I mean, we didn't see, apart from the albino wallaby running around the... and thankfully not going anywhere near the track. I mean, obviously for the 12-hour, first thing in the morning. I mean, and there's so many of them. You go up to the top of the mountain and go to the back of McPhillamy Park through the camps there and look down the other side of the mountain, and it's just a sea of kangaroos. It's amazing there hasn't been more accidents,
especially
out
early
there.
in the
But
morning, when I remember up there early morning. While we're still talking about the race, Richie, which of the two-seaters behind you are you warming up? ScoMo said he wants to go for another race, or run around the track and give everyone the Queen wave.
I don't think he'd fit in either of those.
What, his ego or just his body?
No, both.
Yeah, both.
Okay, let's not. I think there's been enough. I've had enough flack from. I've had enough flack from people already. As I said, the only thing that I'll say about it is that as somebody who actually worked in media advice for both political parties, for candidates in both political parties years and years ago as a media advisor. The New South Wales Premier got it right, the Prime Minister got it wrong, and that was, you do not wrap yourself in the sponsor's product, and it would have been, just politely, thank you, but no thank you, we'll put it aside and I'll take that home with me. Putting on his rep coat and his suit, wasn't a good look.
On a lighter note, though, I did see a post from you, Brett. Great hijacking by 1,000 Bathurst.
Yeah, Super Cheap Auto. They've done a fabulous job in guerrilla marketing. They've done a really good job, and
they
well done.
Flooded everywhere.
Yeah,
they had it all pre-planned. I saw more. I think I saw for every 10 advertising avenues of the Super Cheap brand, I saw one Repco's. They absolutely brought the house down.
Might have cost them a fortune, but it was absolutely worth it.
I think it'll come back in spades.
Yeah, I think that was very good. Apart from that, the other talking point. I mean, well, as we said, we had lots of different races over the weekend. But on the race itself, anybody got anything else either online or in the panel to talk about?
I just
the
thought
race itself.
On a serious note, I did bring up some valid points before about co-drivers, sprinting, lap times. Some really
those
great
lap times
things
toward the ends were a sprint race lap times. They were getting faster as they got closer to the
Fantastic
161
racing.
lap.
And I think everyone probably, if you want to predict the winner, like we all had a touch on last week, you really need to look at. Got to read into what the teams and the drivers say towards their interviews on the Saturday. If they say they've got a good race car, they've got to really mean it, because it all comes down to setup on a Sunday. Unless your car is really set for the race, it's kind to its tyres, and it doesn't use up, its fuel economy. You can get a full 23/24 laps out of it without a safety car. You're not going to hit the economy. And then the last part of it all comes down to, because you never know whether an Echidna, a Wallaby, or another car will jump out in front of you. You've just got to have a little bit of luck on the track. And of course, a quick mention to our friend of the show in pit lane, Steve Richards, was driving around a Toyota 86 on the Saturday. And that was just pure to experience and his calm rhetoric. He was sitting in his 86 in the car, just absolutely wiped out in front of him, and he just gently drove around it at full pace. So sometimes a little bit of luck comes into fashion too. It's, I think, also a testament to, I think at one stage of the race there as well too, there was something like 15, 18 cars on the lead lap, and that doesn't include safety cars and mechanical breakdowns and stuff like that. So a lot of cars were setting a cracking pace and keeping themselves in the loop for after the end. And to quote the main commentator, good luck to Mr. Neil Crompton, who's on his recovery back from his little health scare in the last 12 months. Good to see him at his full speed in his verbal assault. After lap 100, you got to see where everybody sits and assess his situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the same race it used to be. I mean, it used to be that race of attrition, and now there were very few. I mean, unfortunately for Brad Jones Racing, they had a terrible week or race of things going wrong, and but there were some great performances by young drivers as well. I mean, young Brock Feeney showed that they probably made a good decision to bring him up to Triple Eight, because if you have a look, though, he was right back. I mean, Russell Ingall did his job. He kept it. He said, his job was to keep it out there, keep it lapping at a reasonable pace, and get it home without breaking anything or running into anybody. And he certainly was more than capable of doing that. But Brock Feeney did a really good job right up until the end, and I think
9 laps to go.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. But it was that was interesting. You had so many young drivers sort of running around, and we obviously saw that was the last race for Jamie Whincup, sort of at full time. So.
Special mention of Todd Kelly as well, though, too. He's stepping away from the sport to a certain extent.
Yeah, it's interesting that like Todd, I haven't heard Rick Kelly wasn't even there. And I'm not sure if there's been any incidents or anything a major change of philosophy. But Rick wasn't even there, and apparently has just said I have no interest in attending. And we've sort of got out of it. But Kelly Brothers, they will still be doing sort of mechanical stuff. They'll still be doing engineering for Grove Racing, and David Gauci, who's taking over. He will not be able to take over until sort of mid-year. He's got, as they call the WWE, the non-compete clause or gardening leave. He can't come across and he can't work. So Tony Grove is just going to basically fill in the time until he's ready. But Erebus did a fabulous job as well, and once again it was we've sung the praises of Will Brown, but also I mean they did a fabulous job, and unfortunately it was not the car. The car wasn't underweight. The car was perfectly weighted, but the doors were a bit
200
light.
grams.
Yeah, so that's the thing, and you wouldn't think it would make that much of a difference whether it was deliberate or not. I mean, every little bit helps, but they had to sort of they had to make some changes and put the weight back in the doors, which obviously by 200 grams has raised the centre of gravity. I can't see with cars like that are that heavy that it's going to have that much of an effect on them. But
just on that, then obviously it refers to 12 months forward by 51 weeks. To realistically, it would have been great to see Murph and Stanaway if the borders were open. So the world will be a different place in 12 months, and hopefully, I got my letter in the mail from the government today to go and get my booster shot, and hopefully everyone else out there will do so down the track, whatever the world may be. But what's everyone's thoughts? Should they still? And we discussed this briefly a few weeks ago when we knew of the announcements that we're going to have some special attendees. Would 2 wild cards with the right pedigree and right licenses be good for the for Bathurst 1000 each year?
I'd be happy to see half a dozen or more. I still don't think that they've got anywhere. Because they've already said that with the new
25
organisation, it's going to be limited to. They're not going to have any more. Well, they're not going to be called Rex anymore. But whatever, let's call them franchises. There's not going to be any more than 26 cars maximum on any of those fields, and I would like to see, as I said, I'd like to see whether it's, people coming from Super 2 or, just, wild cards and all the rest of it with international drivers or young Australian drivers or veterans coming back or whatever. I'd like to see, because it's something more to talk about. I mean, seeing, Ingle out there was good, and it would have been great to see, Murph out there and, see what Stanaway can, give the opportunity for Stanaway to show his talent, because he is talented. Whatever anybody thinks about him, the guy was a factory driver for Aston Martin in the World Endurance Championship. He's no bunny. He can certainly drive really well. As Feeney, as Tyson saying, Feeney had a terrific drive apart from his accident. The sponsors ruined his TV time. That was something that, they got very... I'm sure that did have something to do with it. I imagine supercars would very much say, no, that had nothing to do with it, but I am very sure that sort of, like whether they were asked to... And I don't think they would be asked to, but I think that you have, in anything, in whether it's even what we do on Channel 31, there's always a degree of self-censorship that you're going to say, hang on, that might not go well because of our sponsor. That's the direct opposition to our sponsor, or that's not going to reflect well on one of our advertisers or something. And it's just human nature that you do that sort of thing, and it may well have been that, it was like, let's work our way back. Let's not give them too much time.
Should have got Stuart to tune in on the comms, so you probably would have heard. And now we've got an interview with Russell Ingle. Shoulders up, please. Shoulders up. Raise the camp. Raise it. That's it. Just on the neckline spot. Now you got it. Right, everyone over to Russell. Russell, how's the race going so far?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
That's the reason that Kerry Packer sponsored the Camaro, to try and...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Kevin Bartlett's Channel 9 Camaro.
Yeah, it's guerrilla. So it's a well-known thing. Guerrilla marketing is a well-known thing, and that's why I think Super Cheap did a fabulous job. But in terms of both having the sponsorship. Having the sponsorship in there, and also all the with all the stuff with TCR as well. I mean, and the 1000 Bathurst thing was a good little gimmick that got a lot of mainstream press there. It was like ABC covered it, and a whole bunch of the local media covered it. There was a whole bunch of general stuff about that, so it was a good bit of guerrilla marketing.
And I think, just briefly as a side note too, on a serious side note, is the patrons of the Bathurst Mount Panorama, the campers themselves, were missed out, because Super Cheap used to put in a huge store there, and it was mainly to do with camping equipment. You could get tents, you can get anything at all to do with camping whatsoever. And if something happened to break, or something that you've left at home, forgot to pack, or something that you wanted that you thought you might need, you could go down to the Super Cheap store. Many a times over the years, I've heard lots of stories. They used to just go and buy, a $50, gas burner, because yours did a hose or something like that, completely out of the blue, and you can go and buy that, and you just made your weekend that much bit better if you could cook your meat.
Okay, well, that was sort of the main race, but we also had the debut of S5000. That's what I was looking forward to, S5000, and they looked and sounded fantastic, but gee, I'm not sure that I want to see them back there again. I think we might have dodged a bullet with that.
Why? What is everybody? Were they 90 down on horsepower, or because they kept on smashing them?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's probably...
that's the thing. Yeah. Hang on. The race started exactly as I needed to get in the shower to go to work. So I haven't seen the race. And the only TV coverage I've seen is an accident in the chase. Literally, I saw news stories that had the accident and didn't include the race results at all. Nothing else. Just, oh, look, there was a crash. Yeah, thank you, mainstream media. You're doing a really bang-up job.
But I mean, for most people, that is the story. I mean, it's like for people to say, like the race was won by, or Aaron Cameron took the Tasman. And the thing was, Aaron was involved in the crash with another mate as a regular on the program over the years, Lewis Leeds. But the fact that neither of them were injured, great testimony to the safety of the cars. There were a number of pretty decent crashes, and nobody was badly hurt, and the cars were repaired in most cases very well. But coming through the chase where they came together, where Cameron and Lewis came together, that could have gone very, very pear-shaped in so many ways, and I'm not sure that anything is added to the prestige of that category by running them at Mount Panorama. I'm not sure about that, because let's face it, if something really bad had have happened and somebody was seriously injured or even worse, that would not be a good look for the category.
Question is, Brett, on that note, is it the speed, the continual high speed of the car because of the length of the circuit and the terrain, or is it the circuit layout itself? Because I mean, you have places that other, Phillip Island or other tracks that they're going to be at, they'll reach those speeds anyway, or because you're going to have side by side too, or is it because they're just an open top doing that sort of speed? So where's your
the main part of the track, the part of the track that really is the chase, and the problem with the chase is the chase was meant to slow people. That it's now nobody. Like I was talking to Richard yesterday, and Richard was saying, well, he said even in the XL, he said, well, I'm not, I'm not, perhaps the XL
lifting.
Doesn't go fast enough, but everybody goes through that absolutely flat chat now, and. If you're going through, it's bad enough when you're bumping panels together in a sedan or a sports car, in a GT car, but when you've got big exposed wheels out there, I mean, coming together at 285, 290 kilometres an hour and having two big wheels hitting each other at flat chat into the chase, either of those cars could have got, and then you've got the worry about where those wheels go. I'm not sure whether somebody might know, one of our viewers might know out there but I'm not sure whether there are wheel tethers on those cars or not. Pete, do you know?
Oh, I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I was going to ring. I was going to ring Gary Rogers and find out. Yeah, I mean, Paul is saying, and Paul's been involved, the Bathurst track doesn't comply with as it is, so running wings of slicks is asking for trouble. And I think that they made sort of modifications. The thing was, I was really surprised when I've said this a few times, that when they first proposed, when Chris Lambden sort of said to me that he said we're going to race these things at Bathurst. I said, yeah, great, fantastic, that'll be wonderful. But I was thinking, never going to happen. And I spoke at Sandown to Eugene Arocca from Motorsport Australia and sort of said, that's it's not going to happen. And he went, hopefully it will. We're going to work hard. We're going to work with the category. We're going to work with the FIA, and we would certainly like to see those cars up on the mountain. That would be fantastic for the category. So, and in many ways, but I don't know whether they came out sort of at the end of it stronger. The other problem is that you've got, at the moment, you've got kids stepping straight out of karts and TCR and a whole bunch of other things. It's not as if they've come through a whole bunch of junior formula before they actually get there. I mean, that accident between.
I was going to say, on that point, some of them haven't even been in Formula V or Formula Ford. You're right; they haven't even done anything.
Yeah, I mean, and a testimony to his skill, but Aaron Cameron just jumped out of a TCR car and just jumped in and was instantly one of the fastest drivers there. But I mean, had he had more open wheel experience, I mean, Lewis, even though he's very young, has got lots of open wheel experience. Right. But would that accident actually have happened if Aaron Cameron had a bit more experience, or do they have to do what they do at Macau at the hairpin, where they say, okay, the chase is a permanent yellow. The fact is, you do not pass, you do not dive bomb anybody into the chase, because it's just or
we'll give you a 30-second
too
time
dangerous.
penalty if you do it, and it'll just wipe you out of the race, basically, if you try and do it.
David's saying that apparently they do have wheel tethers, so that's good to know, because I just thought when that car was flying towards, I know that area well. When that car was flying towards the Aaron's car was flying towards the area, I thought, if a wheel comes off and goes wrong, that will roll for miles. So it'll end up in the hotel and on the balcony. Someone will be sitting there; they can use it as a coffee table.
I was going to say cup of tea and biscuits. Oh, and a rubber tyre.
There you go, but. Peter saying that it makes no difference. Well, everyone has to drive to the conditions. It was good to watch. I mean, I love the look of it. I love the sound of them. It certainly excited me. That was the thing I was making sure of. All of the races over the weekend, they were the races I was, apart from the main race, they were the ones I was definitely looking at and saying, hello, what time are the S5000s on, and making sure that I saw each of those races live. But I'm just worried that it could have gone pear shaped. So it'll be interesting to see what the post-mortem is, because they took the power out of them, and it was a lot of power when you consider it. Now
90 horsepower.
Yeah, are they going to leave that horsepower out of them? Are they going to give it back to them for the when they go back onto other tracks? I mean, I don't think looking at them, they were still running. I mean, Cameron still ran under 2 minutes. Which I was surprised at, because I think that was the thing. I think 2 minutes was the limit. The moment they dipped into the under 2 minute mark, that would be the time when Cams or Motorsport Australia or anybody from the FIA would be going, probably a little too fast, boys.
Hang on. How is S5000 at Bathurst any more dangerous than Indy cars at Texas or Indy cars at Laguna Seca?
Oh, well,
or even Formula Ones at Imola, or Spa. I mean, Spa. That's I mean, I know they've just moved the chateau to make Eau Rouge safer on the runoffs. Yeah. But really, these are still open wheelers. You got concrete walls. How is those events any less dangerous than Bathurst for S5000? I don't think it is. I think if
I'll even argue the end of
the right technology in the car and the right technology on the barriers and the right training for the marshals, I don't think there's a problem there. I want to see open wheelers at Bathurst.
I'd even say, and this is obviously involves no concrete barriers, because you're going to have a clean runoff, except for you're going to have to worry about marshals and huts, etc. But you get the end of Phillip Island straight, turn one, side by side, when they're hanging that turn one to the slight right, they're doing 300 kilometres an hour at that. They tangle up on wheels side by side before they even get anywhere near turn two, and it's not going to end up into a wall, anyone, but it's going to be carnage.
I just think what
it's
Paul
the
is
safety gear fitted to the track that is going to make a difference. Regardless of whether it's open wheel, regardless of whether it's a touring car or the new Gen 3
but as
it hits a wall, it hits a wall.
Yeah, but as Paul's pointing out there, that's the difference between an FIA Level 2 track and what we've got at Bathurst, even at the Bend, and that's why they won't. Yeah, okay. That's why they won't upgrade. Crowds, that's the most important thing.
Protecting the crowds. Protecting the crowds should happen regardless of what class you're running.
That's a very good point.
Whether it's NASCAR, whether it's Formula One, whether it's
in which
IndyCar,
case you've got to put massive catch fencing right around the track. And that's why they won't upgrade. Andrew and Lindsay Fox have both said they've got no interest in upgrading Phillip Island to FIA Level 2, because they would have to install catch fencing right around, and certified catch fencing right around the entire perimeter. Have a look at Sydney Motorsport Park. Have a look at the Bend. Any of those tracks for all the Formula One circuits, right around, there is proper FIA standard catch fencing right across that thing, and I don't think anybody would want to see that at Bathurst, just for the sake of one category.
And I think obviously with the S5000s, the vehicle itself, the car, you've got You've got your hands device or whatever, the new ones. I think there's a new Simpson ones. People have started using them too with the helmet and its connections and stuff like that. You've got the seat you're in. You've got probably some sort of collapsible steering wheel, which all sorts of cars have been developed for many decades now as well too. You've got the tub, as you said, wheel tethers, and of course the halo across the front of them, which was, always been a testament with the S5000. So there's so many different safety features on the S5000 car itself. I suppose you've got not obviously put your hands in your gods, but you've got to look at the sense of you've got to trust what's surrounding you anyway, and the safety features have been put in place to make you safe if you are racing and you make a mistake or you get mixed up with somebody.
Yeah, and like Paul's saying, PI need catch fencing and concrete wall, and that's why they're not keen on the concrete wall, because obviously it's ours as far as the Foxes are concerned. Phillip Island, and Doc, you yes. said it yourself. Phillip yep. Island is a bike circuit, and yep. bikes don't like concrete walls. Because
no, and the people on them don't like them either.
Don't like them either. Hey, speaking of a track that does have level 2 and concrete walls, and did have bikes on the weekend, I don't know if anybody had time to actually sit there and watch. I know Paul was apparently there, but what about and he can perhaps tell us how it went. But that young Miller is a bit of a talent for a bike that was supposedly just a hotted up road bike. He did pretty well.
He could go somewhere, that guy.
He could, yeah. He went well. Did you see much of it, Doc?
I did watch. I was not lucky enough. I had some work to do, but I did catch the main race on the Sunday afternoon, and that was a few red flags as well too. So, hence my catchphrase down the bottom today. Anyone got a red flag? Because we get to the main big event that happened on the weekend and what's coming up next weekend. Unfortunately, a couple of incidents of the bikes. No one hurt, which is great. A few starts, but this sort of guy just blew in to Australia. He's been hanging out in New South Wales for a couple of weeks, I think, doing his quarantine time and just catching up with a few family and friends, etc., around the countryside. And he did a special guest appearance. His name's Thriller Macker, or Thriller, no, Jack. Anyway, great guy. Gave a lot to the crowd. Came out and he dropped it on the Saturday. I think he put the cat bike down, the V4 Panigale. Beautiful turned out bike. Someone told me, I heard on the grapevine, one of you guys out there listening or watching us right now could probably give us a comment. I think he had 2 bikes by the end of the weekend. I can't remember, but it was great to see. Wayne Maxwell is a true champion and knows how to put any bike around the circuit. And the BMWs performed well as well too. But if you're on the back of a Ducati, you're going all right. And it was really great to see that everyone. There was lots of photographs, a few press conferences. Everyone I think they just went out there. I mean, they were seriously racing, but they had a lot of fun, and it was just everyone catching up for a good time. And, I'm sure the crowd would have been slightly taken away a bit because there was another big race in another state everyone wanted to go to instead. So, but awesome stuff. It's really great to see. I shouldn't be and ahhing, but because I'm sort of wishing and hoping that maybe something like this could happen again next year on a different weekend when there's not another significant motorsport event on. And
well, he's already, Jack's already said, I'd like to come back and I'd definitely like to come back and do this again. And that's a really good, because he had a ball and he said he liked the track. And he gave it a lot of praise. In fact, he said that he said this is and it's interesting whether anybody in South Australia, the current government might not take much notice, but certainly if there's a change of government, they might, because he said this is potentially a venue for an Australian motorcycle Grand Prix. If Phillip Island, if they ever wanted a change, or Phillip Island didn't want it, this is a possible venue with some. So that was high praise from. Speaking of Adelaide and the change of government, supercars are saying that next year it is apparently I'll believe it when I see it, but they're saying it is not beyond the realm of possibility that there might be an Adelaide 500 next year towards the end of the year, because there's an election early in the year in South Australia. There's a memorandum of understanding, and the opposition are saying that if it's at all possible to get supercars back on the streets of Adelaide sometime in 2022.
Where are you changing your postal address to, Brett? Where in South Australia did you say you were changing your license postal address to?
Yeah, I don't think I'd go quite that far, but that was. That would be interesting. I mean,
there's going to be a lot, just on that note, and this does affect a lot of motorsport in general because there is politics going up there as far as drag racing in Sydney. There will be a number of elections throughout Australia, federal and state, over the next 12 months as well too, which could change the shape of the country.
Well, we also saw in terms of, we've seen sort of, the Victorian state government has been putting in a lot of money into local motorsport with the improvements out at Oakley with the kart tracks, the improvements at Rob Roy. There's all over the place. There's money going into various venues, and today it was announced that there will be 2 rounds of the Australian Motorsport Championships and the TCR Championship down at Phillip Island, and that's all been brought about because of some funding from the federal government through their regional tourism grants as part of the recovery process after the Great Global Bastard. So we're getting 2 rounds, and one of them will be in March. I'm hoping we can get back into the studio at Channel 31 and RMI TV for In Pit Lane, because boy, March is looking like as it will be the week after the Phillip Island Historics. So Phillip Island Historics, and then just a little bit of a teaser, a news flash, and it's just like a hot coffee on the hand type news flash. It doesn't hurt very much. I did have a sneaky drive down in the Moe Newborough area 2 weeks ago for the weekend, and I was taken out in a FPV GT Mark II Falcon at a considerable speed around the place. Didn't actually go on the Bryant Park hill climb itself down there, but we were around it, and I had a chance when we were going a little bit slower to have a look at the facility there and the tarmac and the course. It looks spectacular on the upgrade. Oh, it's
fantastic. I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, no, I've driven it. I've had a few runs around there over the years. Melissa was lucky enough to get hold of a Renault, gave her a car to drive, and I had a bit of a steer of that, and I took the I think it was the old Laser. I took the old Laser around. I also took around. I had a loaner, and I wasn't supposed to, so I won't say who I had it from, but I had a loaner from somebody, a press car, and I had the opportunity to carefully take it around the track. It's a great venue, fabulous venue. If you're in that area, and they've got the club room. If you can sit out on the balcony out there, you can see the whole of the track. It's a great venue up there. It's really
a big thank you to Jay, who I won't fulfill his whole name, but because I will be giving away. But thanks, Jay, for taking me for a spin around in the GT at a respectable speed, and seatbelt. You don't need, and when you're sitting in the passenger side, normal seatbelts don't help. You just just a little tip, anybody, you shouldn't be going that fast unless you're on a track, but put your feet up against the floor pan, and that'll keep you in the seat if you push up against yourself. But Bryant Park looks amazing at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's a really good track, and of course,
Stuart, we've got to get as you said, we've got to get out there. You know, you're dying to get anywhere at the moment to do to try out some of your tech stuff. You would have an absolute ball with the angles and the track down there at the moment.
Yeah, it's actually quite a hard. In some ways, it's a hard track to cover. We've covered stuff. We did the Australian Hill Climb Championship, not as a live stream, but Richard and I went down and recorded, and we had a fabulous day. Chris is back with us. Welcome back, Chris.
I'm back.
But yeah, we did the Australian Hill Climb Championship there, and that was a great day out, and it's you can see the whole track, but we could probably do it with the gear we've got already. We could probably do a quite reasonable coverage of of stuff down there. I've said, like a few times, hill climbs, motorcar, speedway and drag racing, they're made for television, they're made for live streaming. We just need someone to put their hand in their pocket and say, come along, because the stuff, it's not affordable, but it all costs money, and that's that's the bottom line.
Speaking of money and people putting hands in pockets, can we digress for a moment to a little bit of local politics? Some of you might be aware that the Melbourne Motorboat Club has a 99-year lease on the Exford Reservoir, and some local councillors are putting their nose in because people have bought property that backs onto the reservoir and are suddenly demanding access to the water on runabouts and boats, and don't want to go and join the local club, as in join the Melbourne, like the runabout and motorboat club. So they don't want access to, or they don't want to pay to have membership to the club, to have access to the facilities, to have access to the safety and all of the knowledge and all the experience of running boats on that facility. They just want to be able to, get out of their backyard and drop a boat in the water and not give a damn about all the people who've put on all the effort of putting that facility in there. Now, I know Brett and I have been out of the facility, and it is a brilliant facility when the water is up. Some of the boat racing can be some of the best racing you can see, and it is like sitting in a coliseum to watch. So if anyone is in that area and they want to give their local council members a ring or an email and just say, hey, support the boating club and keep the racing happening and keep the facility in the hands of the people who have been managing it so well since the 1960s, might be a good idea. Otherwise, that racing will go away as well.
What he said. I like it. That is only fair. I mean, we all pay taxes. Yep. We all have facilities that if we want to go to Lake Eildon or Epiloch or all the different places, but they are only as good as what everyone puts into the area and maintained by local councils and raising money. Yep.
Yeah, it's been there a long time.
Fair crack of the whip. I think that's probably a good saying.
They've put in so much effort getting that facility to be the class that it is, and now people just want to come along because they've bought the land that backs on it, and they just want to ignore all of that effort. They just want to be able to access it themselves without joining the club. I mean, join the club and get insurance for your boat. Join the club and get access to all the information and knowledge about life-saving and correct procedures out on the water.
And
not that hard of a decision to make.
And participate in your local community and organisations.
Exactly.
And be beneficial. And you never know, you might like it and you might actually make a difference in how everybody else doing it together will make a huge impact on the whole environment and the facility, and everyone gets to use it.
Exactly.
And it will be a better place. Just helping you along there, Stuart.
Yeah, good luck to the club. I mean, we've had people from the club on several times before, and we might get in touch with them again and see if we can give them a bit of publicity on that when we come back, hopefully in March. Now, before we go, I believe that last weekend there was a race overseas somewhere, and okay,
red flags.
Hang on, before we get to that, I just want to point out that whole meme about eating popcorn when things go wrong and just watching the show unfold. You cannot buy enough popcorn for the next 5 minutes.
I just want to. Anyone got red flags? I need some red flags. I've run out of red flags.
It was amateur hour. Driver standards over the weekend in Saudi Arabia were pathetic on all classes.
It wasn't good. But Pete, what did you think? I mean, your take on the. I mean, it's hard to argue with the fact that, and it's funny that even Helmut Marko now has come out and said, okay, because, the evidence was overwhelming. The forensic evidence is in, and it was very, very firm that, yes, Max did brake test Hamilton on the main straight, and that's had the potential to go very, 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 very badly. Pete, what did you think?
Well, they were both. Yes, they were both. It looked like they were both, was going to give the place back close to the DRS zone so he could get it, retake it back down the straight. So I like what Alex Wirtz has said. I can't remember exactly what he said, exactly word for word what he said, but his idea was that if you're in that situation and you can't, and you do give the place back to close to a DRS zone, you can't then retake it back until the next lap that you come into the DRS zone.
Yeah, that'd work. The other option that I've sort of thought of is having, you've got DRS zones, you could have redress zones as well that are outside of the DRS to say, okay, on the next lap there will be, and then there's no uncertainty. It's like, on the next lap, Max will redress the place, or whoever's in front will redress the place at redress zone 1 or redress zone 2. And that way, the drivers who are following say, yes, at that stage they will get out of the way, and then I can come through. They at least know where it's going to happen and when. It's a bit like, just thinking about it, a bit like we see in Formula SAE, where they've got the passing. They have the passing zones.
Exactly.
And it works.
Look,
I know it's very slow, but
it's, yeah, it'll be easy enough to do. Some of the tracks have got escape roads on the outside of, like a sand trap or the like, and all it's got to do is the car's got to go through that at a slower speed for one lap. Done. Sorted.
Yeah,
that would also be a useful way of
MotoGP.
getting rid of 5-second penalties at the end of the race that has been just resolved.
Yeah, well, that's what they do now with
with
MotoGP. They've got the penalty lap. They've got that extra bit. They've got it now at Phillip Island. That sort of extension around Honda. So you take that penalty zone, and that could be. And as you say, that it's probably much more. It's probably much more entertaining than just saying, like, after the race, okay, it's a 5 or a 10 second, because yes, they're going to lose time, but they will lose the same amount of time, and then they can just start racing again. But I thought it was. I don't think, Pete.
Or have no, because the command was give the place back, but do it strategically. Do it strategically. Just give the place back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so either way, it was. It could have been. It could have been a very, very nasty situation.
Okay, serious note first. Let's go.
There.
Kravitz said, told Sky Sports News such a move could see Verstappen burdened by the label of a dirty driver. Didn't seem to worry Senna or Schumacher, who both didn't mind punting other drivers off the track, and both are considered greats of F1 now.
Yeah, that's going to lead us straight into Schumacher versus Damon Hill at Adelaide for a championship. Are we going to see the same sort of thing next week where somebody punts one of the other drivers off or damages the car specifically
I want to touch on that
as tactics to win the championship?
I want to touch on that actually because it involves two things. So first of all, on a serious note, I hope they've got a whole lot of spare headphones for next weekend ready for any team, because Toto Wolff knows how to set a new precedent on how to destroy a set with the explicit F word thrown right into it. Now, getting back to the serious stuff.
He's just in the same. Is he now in the same club as Alistair Clarkson?
Absolutely.
Alistair famously had the phone, so we should that's a meme we should find. We should find the footage somewhere of both of those.
Of both those and jam them up. There you go, Stuart. Not a problem for next week. Now, getting on to some really proper serious stuff. One, and this is hopefully this comes down to self-consciousness, and I know team orders and all this rubbish that goes on. I'm a fan of the guy, but he's obviously leaving the sport. Valtteri Bottas cannot do what he did last week because it could severely affect the race in a championship, and it could end up in court afterwards. So no slowing down other drivers deliberately like he did when the race was still in the balance earlier on last weekend. He's deliberately slowed down other drivers, Verstappen at the stage when they're going in for the first red flag and pits, because that is going to end up court. If it goes to court, no one's going to know what the answer is if someone instigates that in the first place.
Everybody loses.
Exactly. Everyone loses. No one knows who'll ever win. Two, and I've addressed this before in previous weeks, and I think everyone in the control room is going to be really careful and start to watch this. qualifying at any stage or practice, whatever like that, drivers that are slowing down and doing stupid slow stuff when people are going around on flying laps could actually damage a car that badly that they may not participate in a race, especially when it comes to on the Sunday. So that's point number 2. That's really important. And 3, I just want to quickly finish off with my couple of comments about premonitions for next weekend. Reflecting back, great drive by Daniel last weekend as well too.
Yeah, he did. He did well. The McLaren obviously suited, and he was very happy with the performance. So yeah, he did very well. But it'll be interesting. I mean, I hope that it doesn't end up in controversy. I mean, obviously this is going to provide sort of like big ratings for Formula One. Everybody's keen to see what happens, as Paul's pointing out. If both of them, if there is a DNF for both of them, Verstappen will win on countbacks, and that's what the Toto Wolff has already come out and said. I hope that it's not going through anybody's mind, and Christian Horner's come out and said no, it will certainly not be discussed at our end. We want this to be a clean fight to the end, and that's what we think Max will want. I'm not sure about that, but I think Max will want to win his first championship. But I mean, it's.
Well, if Max ends up on one of the 3 steps of the podium next week, it's been quite public now that he will break the record for the amount of podiums in a season anyway as well too, ever.
Yeah, so it's there it says Andrew saying concerns this will end up as a farce if the track condition. That's the worrying thing. I mean, I'm not going to watch it live. As basically as soon as the cars crossed the line at Bathurst, I discontinued my KO subscription because
you cracked it, did you, Brett? Absolutely spat the dummy like a Toto Wolff. Did you throw your headphones?
No, I didn't throw it there. I just didn't want to be spending. I didn't have another $25 to spend. But the card had been declined once, and I wasn't going to get it declined again. So I knocked it on. I said, right, I finished. I've watched Bathurst, and also, I mean, the fact is, it's at an ungodly hour of the morning, and I'm going to, I'll watch. But I don't want to get up on Monday morning and hook up to the YouTube and see that it has been a farce. I want it to be like a great drive to the end and worthy of a battle between two really really good drivers, including Lewis going for an unprecedented 8th world championship, which is just ridiculous. I never thought anybody would catch up with Fangio. I never thought anybody would catch up with Schumacher to surpass, but it's just an incredible performance. With whatever people think of him, and there's a lot of nonsense. I mean, he's a polarizing character, but there is no doubt about it. The guy can drive a race car.
Let's face it. If anyone does beat Hamilton in a fair race, without breaking any rules or breaking the spirit of the rules, if they beat Hamilton, they've got to be the top of the game. They've got to be doing the absolute best job that they can possibly do for the driver and the team. He has set a standard that if you can beat me, you are the best.
Well, there's one person in line next year. He's got the chance, and Georgie Porgy is going to be the next guy having a crack at it. I think everyone, doesn't matter who wins the championship this year, out of Max or Lulu, we'll be all looking forward to the first round of next year to find out how his co-driver will go, because he has been a Saturday specialist, especially the first, half, 3/4 of a year, George Russell. He didn't necessarily end up in Q3 all the time, but he did, he was cracking along and setting a decent pace and be able to do, a one-lap wonder. So if he can qualify as good as he has in the car he has at Williams, as he can in the Silver Arrows next year, let's see how he goes for race pace and consistency and not making mistakes, and see if he can serve it up to Lewis with the same. I assume Mercedes will give him the same rubber underneath.
Well, now as well as we are well over our regular time, and I have some now very cold roast pork waiting for me to eat outside. Let's find out as Box is saying, and everyone at home, put in your 2 bobs worth as well. Who do you think will win this weekend? Who wins the world? Forget about the race. Who wins the world championship? Hamilton versus. Well, Pete, we know you said about a month ago. When he was behind, you said that Hamilton would win. You still sticking with that?
Yes, yep.
Stuart?
Yeah, I got to agree with Pete on this one. I think Hamilton's going to take it.
Hamilton.
Doc?
Max. So I just want to add, and I'm not going to go long-winded, there's going to be a lot of variables that could take either of them out.
Yep, so I'm
and
going...
you, Brett?
I'm going for, at the moment, the Mercedes are clearly the faster car in Hamilton. So I'm saying that yes, I'm going for
prediction for the
Hamilton
race.
as
everyone's
well.
everyone's obviously, if you're going for Hamilton.
Yeah, Hamilton.
I'm going to go long. I'm going to go Charles Leclerc.
Well, that's one out of left field. That's way out of left field.
If they both take each other out. He is probably the next best after the 2 main teams.
Andrew saying that he thinks Max with the bonus for the fastest lap. Now that could come into it. That could come into it somewhere. Yeah,
and which you've got Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez or Checo. If they put some rubber on with a lap or 2 to go, and both players are out of the mix, that 1 point can make a difference, like you said, Brett. Far out, especially if they end up 1 and 2 or 5 and 6, or.
Well, if both of them are out and they are tied, the only way that Lewis can win would be if early in the race before he gets put out, he has the fastest lap. So
because obviously Max has got it on countback.
Yeah, so I mean he's got to get so Hamilton can't just sit back and twiddle his thumbs. He's probably got to just to make sure of it. He might have to go hard early, but it'll be interesting to see. It's great to see it going down. It's got a lot of interest, a lot of mainstream interest. I see. Unfortunately, this is not the case in Australia, but over in England, Channel 4 have paid apparently a ridiculous amount of money to get the rights to screen it live on free-to-air television in England. They've done a deal with Sky Sports. And
surely Rupert owns Channel 10 these days. Couldn't he put it on live?
Not anymore. He doesn't.
No, Rupert doesn't.
No, he doesn't anymore.
Rupert owns 9 and 7.
Oh, sorry, Rupert owns 9. That's right. Sorry, CBS.
Rupert owns Australia, but
it's
actually that's the interesting thing. It's actually CBS, which who runs
CBS owns 10. That's right. That's why you get all these reruns of Friends and the Big Bang Theory all the time. And
they've also got no interest in. It's one of the big problems that Channel 10 have got is that they've got their sports thing. Is when you think about years ago when they had that one sport concept, and that was the thing that changed everything, because that was the thing that terrified Rupert Murdoch. If that one sport concept that David White was pushing for a free-to-air 24-hour-a-day sports channel, if that had have taken off the way he wanted it to take off, if they'd have let it, Foxtel would be in bigger trouble. Now, the only thing that's keeping them alive now is sport, and they've got a monopoly.
And Alan Jones' announcement tomorrow, which is the whole world's going to tune in for, which really, seriously, I don't believe I actually heard that. I don't know why it came up on my feed. Going across over my side over there, could I just please, Peter, what time do you know the race is officially going to be on Australian time?
I think it's midnight.
Midnight it is. So you had it worked out already for us. Yep. Okay. Thanks, Mag Cow. He's going for Bottas for the win. Max second, Ricciardo third. I like a third place getter, and we might see a shoey even for a third place if Ricciardo gets up on the podium. And I think you're hoping a bit too much there, Mad Cal. I like your idealism, but look, I seriously, as Brett said, and I think everyone concurs, we want to see a clean race. Let the best man win. May all the wheels go across the line connected to the car, and it will be a better sport for it. Rather than the controversy will be good and fun, but we don't want to see it go to courts and get drawn out where everyone gets just bored of hearing about who should have, could have, would have.
Well, we hope that the W, for those who are listening on the podcast, Peter Fraser is saying Max wins because Hamilton faints due to inhaling excessive aftershave.
Yeah, one other thing with Hamilton is the track more left-hand corners or right-hand corners, because Hamilton also has to deal with the weight of that watch.
All right, that's usually you doing that, Stuart. Let's have a look at Abu Dhabi on the track. Let's have a look.
Watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, ha ha ha. The other thing, and I'll tell you what, I've got a bigger factor than the left and right, which is obviously very important. I don't have it on my phone like I did Bathurst last week, which I got the weather forecast right. What will happen in Abu Dhabi? Because they can have some tropical rain sometimes as well too.
Not very often. It's one of the driest places.
Oh, come on.
I don't think we'll see. It'd be very unlikely. Yes, it has
going for a storm.
After the
sandstorm is,
Bernie's not
That's
around
it.
and put sprinklers on.
Yeah, that's it. And Andrew's saying yes, and farewell to Kimi Räikkönen, one of Andrew's famous favourites. Certainly not one of mine to interview, bro. The toughest interview in all motorsport.
Didn't you have down the bottom there before, Brett? You said Kimi is going to not miss the politics of the sport. Just in response to your comment over there, it didn't go unnoticed, Peter, about the sprinklers of Bernie Eccleston. If you pay Bernie enough to put the sprinklers on, even though he's not involved in the sport, if you give him enough money, he'll do it for you. That's all Bernie's about, is accumulating the most amount of money in the world. There's nothing else matters.
He's certainly doing well.
He's got a long way to go.
I am like really, really, really hungry now, and as I said, I've got some pork waiting for me out there, and I've got to see what
it's not a hot pork anymore.
No, it's not a hot pork anymore because I turned it off, but it's so it's certainly well rested. They say always rest your meat for as long as it's been well and truly rested. Well and truly rested now. So
no, Stuart, you can't swear now.
So anyway, everybody.
But I can recommend the hot dogs from the coffee ambulance at the end of Tullamarine.
Right. Okay. Well,
that was today's job.
Right. Okay. We'll see you next week. Now, next week will be our final episode for the year on Full Course Yellow. We'll take a break until I don't know when, but it'll be a while. And then, as I said, hopefully in terms of the program, in terms of In Pit Lane, we were certainly hoping to come back still, fingers crossed. Obviously, at the moment, there is still no word from RMIT University as to what the situation is there. There's still, obviously, until they can open, as they said, until they can open properly again, until they can basically, make some planning for next year, they're not making any announcements as to what the availability will be for RMITV on the studio. So there's a few things that we've got to jump over before we find out whether we're back at all next year. But so next week, be watching, and we'll wrap up what is hopefully not a too controversial, but I'm sure it will be controversial, final round of the World Championship, and have a quick sort of wrap up of the year. Perhaps something for you to think about is we might have some of our own sort of end of year awards coming up at the end of the year. Everybody else does it, so we might put up. So stay abreast on the Facebook page, and we might put up a few categories, and we might ask you to put in your 2 bobs worth and make a vote, and we will see what everybody thinks about who was the main performers for 2021.
I have a suggestion, Brett. Straight away, you inferred one earlier, which was your best Alexa Clarkson award for the year as well too. There you go.
Well, I think we know who's won that already. I think Toto's got that well and truly wrapped up, the Alistair Clarkson Memorial Award. So, okay, everybody. Thanks to everybody. Thanks, Russell. Thanks, Box. Thanks, Mad Cow Mark. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next week on Full Course Yellow. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the Grand Prix if you're watching it live. Enjoy your sleep if you're not watching it live. And enjoy the enjoy the cricket as well. That's my plans for the weekend.
Yeah.
Is watching for as long as it lasts. Anyway, okay, everybody. We'll see you. We'll send congratulations, Travis Head as well. We'll see you next week from Full Course Yellow. Until then, from all of us here, bye for now.
Have a great week.
Bye.